Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life and welcome back to a new vlog. It is Friday, July 21st, and so I figured I'd do another weekend reading vlog. Why not? I have a lot of books I need to read, so I might as well motivate myself by doing a vlog. The very first thing that I need to work on is this book, Sandy Hook, An American Tragedy and the Battle for Truth by Elizabeth Williamson, and this is my final book that I need to read for the BookTube prize for this round. So this will be my primary read this weekend because this is the last one that I have left to read, and voting is happening at the end of next week, so definitely need to focus on that. Sorry, I have some fuzz flying around here. And then I will also be working on Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Thien. This is historical fiction. I am buddy reading this currently with Joe Smith. Kim from Middle of the Book March was buddy reading it with us, but she has DNF'd the book halfway through, so it's just Joe and I at this point. And I've got my my cover on backwards, so I'm trying to find where I am in the book currently. Where is my bookmark? Appear to have lost my bookmark, people. There it is. I am currently on page 398 of this novel, so I only have a few more pages to go before I am due for my next check-in with Joe tomorrow. So yeah, I will have more thoughts on this later. This is just supposed to be an introductory video. So I am also buddy reading True Biz by Sara with Sean the Book Maniac. So we had our first check-in on this on Monday, and we've read the first about 60 pages, and I'll have another 60 pages to read this weekend for another check-in on Monday. This is a novel about some children who some teenagers that go to a deaf boarding school. And yeah, so this is already super interesting, and I will say too that it's very interestingly laid out as just as a book. There are quite a few illustrations within the book that demonstrate how to do sign language. So yeah, I think it's really great to have all this stuff sort of mixed into the story, and the story is really good so far. Like the first 60 pages really captured my attention, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing on with this read this weekend. And then my audiobook is Encore in Death by Robb. This is, I don't even know which installment, somewhere in the 50s number of books in this futuristic mystery series featuring a police detective, Eve Dallas, and her husband, Rourke, and a large cast of characters by this point. I absolutely love these books. Like I said, I'm listening to this on audio, and it's read by Susan Erickson, who is a longtime audio narrator for this series, and I really enjoy her narration of these books. I'm in the middle of chapter 5 on this one, so about 50 pages in. Just getting set up for the mystery for this one, which is that this Hollywood power couple, she's a Broadway actress, and he is a big film star, and they're having a big party in their home. They're married to each other for about 10 years, having a big party in their home, and the husband is killed. He dies in the middle of the party. It looks like it's probably poisoning, and it looks like maybe the poison was meant for his wife, and he ended up drinking the drink that had the poison in it. So plot ensues from there, and I just really, really enjoy these. These are super fun for me and really great, sort of super entertaining reads when I'm feeling stressed out about stuff. And they make great audiobooks because they really hold your attention. So those are the 4 books that I'm going to be focused on this weekend. If I end up reading anything else, I will let you know about that as we go along. Good morning. It's Saturday, and this is my check-in from the Screenhouse at camp. Just wanted to check in on the two books that I've been working on the most. Also need to mention that it's World Cup soccer time. Women's World Cup is happening, so a lot of my free time being spent watching World Cup soccer, which I absolutely love and adore. And yay, US women that won their first match last night. That was a great game. Always nice to start out with a win. But I have been doing some reading, so I would like to check in with you guys. I have been working on Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Thien, which I don't think I really talked about what this book is. I'm sure that you're all aware. It's been around for a long time. Prize-winning novel, literary fiction, historical novel set in basically two timelines, following two generations of the same family through the eyes of two young women, Marie and Ming, both of whom, like each of their family lines, are intertwined through their fathers, who were one talented pianist and one a composer, and how it was to live through the Chinese Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao and into the present day, which is Tiananmen Square student protest time period. So I am really struggling with this novel. I find it extremely slow and way too drawn out. I think that there's too much time spent in certain sections of the story that could be condensed down to make it more readable and to make it more to flow better. For me, it just bogs down. Like you'll get through a section, there's quite a lot of interest going on, and then we just bog down with basically the same characters doing the same activities over and over again for days. And I really don't. This is another literary novel that I feel like I am missing the point. Like I am missing the point of this novel. And I get that this story is telling about how these larger political events impact families and how families get, ripped apart, or, it really impacts how people connect with one another and how families are able to survive by growing up or living through these huge political events. But I also feel very disconnected. I don't feel connected to the characters. I feel like some of the characters aren't very well developed at all. Other characters, I just feel like they just aren't holding my interest. They just aren't very charismatic characters, I guess I would say. So yeah. And I mean the sort of the themes of what literature and music do for individuals, and how if you take that away from humans, it really impacts their ability to find connection and find joy in the world, because we take so much connection and joy from our artistic endeavors. That's great, but I just think that this book is too long and it's not engaging enough for me, particularly for me, to really enjoy it. I am not a person that's going to enjoy a novel for beautiful writing. I'm probably not going to notice it. I am not your audience if you're a beautiful writer. I'm just not your audience. So yeah, I'm sad that this book is not working for me better, because I am interested in this time period in China. I just feel like I've read a few, for example, Pearl S. Buck's book, The Good Earth, also about similar time periods, although starts a little bit earlier in time. Loved that book, was thoroughly engaged with that one. So yeah, I can like a historical novel set in China, just not this one particularly. So that's too bad. And I am reading, obviously, for the BookTube Prize, Sandy Hook by Elizabeth Williamson. I mentioned this one in my TBR yesterday, and I've read 100 pages out of a almost 500-page book. So I can't talk about it, but this is the true story. This is the story of what happened at Sandy Hook, mostly focusing on the lens of the conspiracy theories that developed afterwards, that Sandy Hook was not an actual true event, that it was a false flag event, and that this conspiracy theory was really driven by Alex Jones and InfoWars. And so the author is setting that all up in this book and explaining that. And this all based on interviews, things like that. So primary sources. So I can't talk about what I think about it, but that's the premise of the book. So those are the two that I focused on yesterday and so far today, and I will be doing more reading today. It's beautiful, finally a beautiful sunny Saturday in Maine. We've had the worst weather this summer so far. It's been 6 weeks of nonstop rain, clouds, fog, and humidity. And we still have the humidity, but we now finally have some sunshine. So I'm going to go enjoy it. Monday afternoon. I apologize for the wet hair look. I've just had a swim because it was an incredibly hot day at work today. It's Monday, as I said, and I had to work in the field, and it's like 95 degrees out and sunny, and so I got quite sweaty. And so when I got off work, it seemed like a perfect time to have a swim. So I didn't get to film a clip yesterday, unfortunately. I was having a bad headache day. I don't know if I've talked about this on the channel before, but I have to deal with chronic tension headaches and migraines, and yesterday was just a bad headache day, and so I didn't film a clip. So let's wrap up how my reading went for the weekend. I did really a lot of reading, and so I feel really good about what I've been able to complete. I read over 200 pages of Sandy Hook this weekend, which is for the BookTube Prize, as I've said, so no more to say about that other than I made what I feel is good progress on that. And then I'll talk about a couple of books that I've made good progress in, and then leave the book I finished for the last bit. So I've read, I'm about 250 pages into this 350 page, is it 350 pages? Yeah, about maybe a little bit, yeah, about 350 page mystery, futuristic mystery novel. This is Encore in Death by J.D. Robb, book like 50 some odd in the series about the mystery. And this one is about a Hollywood couple, one of whom is murdered publicly at in the middle of a party from poison, and our main character Eve Dallas is trying to figure out what happened to that person. Really great. Not probably the strongest mystery that has been in the series, but still very, very enjoyable. I'm listening to that on audiobook, so had a good opportunity to listen today. Had quite a bit of driving to do. And then I am about 120 pages into True Biz by Sara Novice, and this is a book that takes place in a school for the deaf, a boarding school for the deaf. We've got sort of two groups of characters that we're following. One is a group of teenagers who are students at the school. Our main couple of characters are Charlie and Austin. Charlie is a girl, and they are both deaf students at the school. Charlie has just started going to the school, where Austin has been a student at the school for quite a long time. And then we're also following February, who's the headmaster at the school, and her partner and mother, and their storyline. And this book is so good. I know I've talked about the formatting and the different way that information is presented in this book, which is great. Also, just this book has already given me many light bulb moments in terms of things that I've never even considered from my own very ableist point of view of being a person who can hear, what the world is like for people who can't hear. And so this book not only is entertaining because I'm really interested to find out what happens to these characters, but it's also a book that I feel like I'm learning a lot and getting a new perspective on things, which is always fantastic. So that's going really well. And that is a buddy read with Sean the Book Maniac. And then the book that I finished this weekend is Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Thien, literary fiction, winner of prizes, been on my ancient TBR for a long time, and buddy reading this with Joe Smith. Started reading it, buddy reading it also with Kim from Middle of the Book March. She DNF'd the book, and Joe and I have persevered, and I finished the book this weekend. And I will say that while I admire this book for what the author has done here in describing events of the late 20th century in China, historical events, political events, through the point of view of a family, through 3 generations of 2 particular families. And I think it's really ambitious what Thien's tried to do here, particularly in the more modern history of the events leading up to the Tiananmen Square massacre. And also the events through the Cultural Revolution and Chairman Mao, basically resetting how the country was going to operate through communism. It's an ambitious novel, as I said, but for me, it did not totally work. I felt that it has a pacing issue. Some parts I was really invested in, really turning the pages, and then other parts were really, really painfully slow. And I really struggled to stay engaged with the book. I also think that there are so many characters that sometimes it's hard to keep track of, where you are and what's happening and who's important and who isn't important. And I also felt disconnected from the characters. I never really felt like she writes so subtly that I felt like the characters were very enigmatic, and I didn't always understand their motivations, and I didn't always understand why what she was telling me was important to the overall story. And there was other things in here that I didn't necessarily feel pulled together very well, and I don't want to go into those details because I think it might be spoilerish to talk about them. But this is a book that deals a lot with how music and art and writing are important to humans and why they're important to humans, and how those things can be taken away from you in certain situations, like when a government decides they're going to control every part of your life, and what that does to a person to lose that outlet, that creative outlet. That stuff just sort of went over my head. I don't know anything about the music parts of the story that were in this book. I am not a person that knows anything about music. So that was all, a lot of stuff that I did not connect with at all. So while I think the political side of the story and the description of the events that were happening in China, told through the eyes of these two families, and we're sort of going back in time to see how these events unfold through the eyes of 2 young women in present day Canada, Marie and Aming, who are, the most current generation of these families. And, it was interesting that way to see these political events unfold. But like the pacing, as I said, just did not work for me. It was just too slow in a lot of places, and it failed to hold my interest. And I don't think that the payoff at the end for me was enough to make it feel like I had, that it was worth it to sort of keep myself reading for the time period that it took me to finish this book. So, because it is quite a chunky book. So yeah, I know that this is, it's well written, and it's highly lauded, and it may very well be a book for you. It just did not turn out to be a book for me. So I would not discourage you from trying this book out if you're interested in Chinese history over the 20th century, if you like a generational story of a family, if you're interested in music, particularly classical music and composition, and what that was like in China in the mid 20th century time period, definitely pick this book up, because I think that it may very well work for you more than it did for me. So that is what I call a successful reading weekend. Quite a bit of reading done, as I said. Finished a book, got quite a ways into my last book, 2 prize book. Quite a ways through the audiobook that I'm currently listening to. We'll probably finish that up tomorrow. So yeah, I feel good about my progress. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I'll talk to you later.